We are 22S Media. 22S Radio is the next wave of K-Beats. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 KKJZ HD3 Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of The Golden Spotlight. I'm your host, Rob Flores, and today I have a new guest. At this time, I'd like my guest to please introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Vivian Moon. I'm a writer, spoken word poet. Right now I'm in the Inland Empire, but I've been hanging around Southern California my whole life.
Excellent. For those of you who are just tuning in, The Golden Spotlight is a show where every week I interview a new guest, and we have live audience interaction as well. So for those of you who are watching the video version, you're seeing me with my phone, with my guest, and I'm using resourceful apps like Periscope, just so that more people can tune in and hear my guest story. So I like to every time I have my guests, I like them to start from the beginning. What was life growing up, especially how was K-12?
K through 12? Oh, let's see. So I grew up in the suburbs of LA County, so I was trying to get out. I always wanted to, keep learning and explore. So, yeah, I guess I started writing when I was probably like 7 or 8, just angsty poetry. I have anxiety, so when I was younger, in the Korean community, we don't talk about mental illness or anything like that, anxiety. So I realized as I was older, and I realized when I had that, that's probably what I was coping with when I was younger, so I let it out by writing, and I always wanted more, So that's when I guess that's how I grew, like the precursor to, my college days when I actually, went deep into poetry and into writing and started majoring in literature. And really explore that as a profession. So I do have a day job now, but then it really, my upbringing did bring me, a greater appreciation for being able to explore and having ownership of, what I want to do.
So, so from your early beginnings, did you also grow up with siblings as well?
Yes, I have an older brother, and he's actually a writer too. He's a hip-hop artist in Korea.
Nice. Is that your only sibling?
Yeah. And if anyone likes hip-hop or Korean hip-hop, his name is Los, L-O-S, so you can check him out.
Is he on social media and stuff?
What was that?
Social media?
Yeah, his social media, it's Los Moonwalker for his Instagram. L-O-S, Moon, M-O-O-N, Walker, W-A-L-K-E-R.
So, growing up, so first in like elementary, were you shy? Were you involved in any plays and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did a lot of plays. I did. My parents sent me off to do a lot of different activities. I feel like maybe a lot of immigrant families are like that, at least in the Asian community, definitely. So I did taekwondo, I did plays, musicals, I took some art classes. I ended up being in a band, so I took percussion classes, voice lessons. Did a little bit of everything. Yeah.
So I want to start with each one at a time. So
okay.
Let's start off with the taekwondo.
All right.
What was that like?
Okay, it was cool. Like one moment I always remember is, I was about to spar a guy, my age. He's like, "Oh, I need to fight a girl," and I was, "Oh hell no!" That was the beginning of feminism, So, I beat him up. He ended up on the floor, and so that was pretty empowering. I didn't go all the way to black belt. I quit at brown belt. Of course, in retrospect, I wish I didn't quit any of those things. But I'm glad that I tried it. I was there for several years since I was, 5 is when I started, and then I got out you know, like in middle school sometime. I mean, earlier than middle school, I forget. But it was a great experience.
And how did that start? Did your parents make you do it, or you wanted to, or how did that happen?
My parents made us do it, but you know, in the beginning, like I've always been down to try new things, so I don't remember resisting as much in the beginning. It was more like getting into it later.
Did you get to do that with your sibling as well, or?
Yeah, he actually stuck with it, and he stopped when he was at a 2nd degree black belt, 2nd or 3rd degree.
Yeah. And so during this time, what grades were you in?
When I was at Taekwondo?
Yeah.
So I believe I started at 5 when so I was born in America, but then I lived in Korea for the first few years of my life, and then came back. So I was probably around 5, and you know, I want to say middle school, but I feel like even that's too old. So maybe it was like 5th grade or something like that. Yeah.
Tell us about the years of living in Korea.
I remember very little. I mean, you know, I was a baby, but it's interesting because, you know, I was speaking Korean. That was my first language. But when I think back, I'm thinking in English, you know. So it was cool. I mean, I remember like running around. I remember 2 places where we lived. One was in the city, Seoul, the capital, and we were in an apartment. Remember Christmas and getting like toys, and then we had another home in the country at a different point, and that was really nice. We would go hiking. It was some mountains right behind our home. So yeah, it's a long time ago. So I remember bits and pieces.
And then what about the transition here and the language and stuff?
In memory, it seems easy. When I spoke with my cousins are about similar age. They were living in Hawaii, and the first place we went to in America when we came back was Hawaii because our family was there. And the stories I'd hear from them was that, you know, they would try to speak with us, and my brother and I would just look at them blank face, you know, like we didn't know the language. But in my memories, what I remember is just, you know, it's just kind of having fun, you know, like I don't remember the confusion. I guess everything was confusing at that point, right?
Yeah. And then, so middle school, did you see any differences, like as far as your interests as you left elementary?
Yeah, definitely. I think in elementary school, you know, I was, you know, I mean, I hadn't like developed who I was yet, you know. And then in middle school, I felt like that's when I really developed who I am, more of my character, and kind of realize what was important to me in a way. Not as much as in high school, but I felt like I formed my personality in middle school. So I guess I became like a little bit tougher, you know, a little bit more expressive, more spoken, you know, more, I would speak out more. Yeah, I guess I became, I remember like, you know, having some deaths in the family. My grandma passed, my aunt passed, and I remember that did harden me up a little bit. I remember at some point I did go through a stage where I was just angry, you know. So then from elementary to middle school, then middle school to high school, definitely transitioned a lot, just I guess emotional roller coasters and like writing all that angsty poetry, kind of developing my voice. So when I got to high school, I was kind of over all the you know, popularity contests and all that stuff. I was more into growing myself. So I guess those family events helped me grow up a little bit.
What is your earliest memories how you got introduced to hip-hop?
Introduced to hip-hop? Well, my brother being into music, I would hear him listening to music, but we could kind of have different styles. So I remember listening to, what is it? Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back. And it was just so fun, you know, on the radio. Like, that was one of the first songs I transcribed, you know, like back when we didn't have internet lyrics and everything. Genius. I remember I transcribed. It was just so fun. And then when I listened to Tupac on the radio, it was, you know, like Keep Your Head Up, or, you know, one of those songs changes, something like that. And I was inspired, you know. And then I heard Outkast and kind of realized that there was more to hip hop than, you know, Sir Mix-a-Lot. And that's when I kind of started getting into underground. And I knew a little bit about the music. I remember, you know, buying some of those CDs from like those subscription things. I got like Nelly, Country Grammar. But it was pretty like soft exploring, I'll call it. And then I think college is when I really started digging deep. You know, People Under the Stairs, Gavlin, like the more of the local scene, and Living Legends and things like that. When I really started learning more about hip hop. But I've had that interest. It just for like, you know, I guess the more of the underground as I was ending high school.
So in high school, did you get to participate in like talent shows?
Not so much. I always called myself like an outcast in high school. You know, like people liked me and I hated everyone. Like it was kind of one of those things, you know, I felt like I was probably like, oh, too cool for school, you know, my mentality. So I didn't really do a lot of those talent shows. I wasn't all like pepped up or anything. I was definitely away from the scene, trying to do my own thing.
So in high school, did you get to also like try clubs?
Yeah. I was part of a club called Kids to Kids, and it was like a basically high school kids read to elementary school kids. So that was kind of my step into, you know, like nonprofit work. And that was really awesome. You know, I was secretary and then I became president. So that's the one club that I was super into.
Most would say that senior year is the most stressful. What was senior year like for you?
Oh, it was fun. It was fun. Senioritis, you know, I couldn't wait to get out. I was definitely feeling happier, I think, than, you know, instead of feeling stuck, I was inspired and motivated. I was excited to go to college, do my own thing, you know. I was ready to make choices that, you know, I didn't have my, like, parents over there, you know, trying to direct me. I was excited to kind of go off on my own. So, you know, I was living it up. I was enjoying life. I was hanging out a lot with friends, ditching. It was fun. And I was also taking AP classes, which I passed and did well. I did my SATs and all that. So I was feeling good. Yeah, I think if anything was more stressful, probably junior year, prepping for all that stuff.
We'll be right back after this quick break.
Did you know that more than 20% of students on Cal State campuses experience food insecurity while in college? Cal State Long Beach is doing something to help that with the Beach Pantry, which is located on the 3rd floor of the Student Union in room 302 and is open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and again from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
Stop by for some food, snacks, and school
Can people
supplies.
still see us?
Oh, this one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's something at the end of the trail that we're all looking for.
Tune into Dead Air. We are your host every Tuesday.
1 to 2 p.m. on 22 West Radio. Thank you.
And we are back on the Golden Spotlight. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in at 22 West Radio, remember you can also use the Radio FX app to access our programming. And if you're listening right now to the Golden Spotlight, episodes are posted on blogflowersmedia.wordpress.com. And I'm back here with my guest. So, you know, as senior year is coming to an end, you know, there's all these activities that people go to, like prom and all that stuff. What was all those events like for you?
It was great. It was great. Like I mentioned, you know, I worked hard, played hard, so I went to prom. I think our senior year we had our grad night canceled, so that was a bummer for my friends and I. But we just, you know, we just kept doing our own thing, and there were other events. I think we went to Knott's. That was kind of the alternate for senior night, grad night. So it was fun. It was fun. I was definitely social. So we went out, had a good time. Everyone was just ready to get the hell out of there, you know.
So as senior year is wrapping, people ask themselves, you know, what's next? What school I want to go to and all that. Did you know right away what was next?
Well, I knew I was going to go to UC San Diego, which I did end up going and graduating there. But before I got accepted into that college, I wanted to go to a business school and just focus on business. You know, my dreams and goals were to, you know, be deep into the business world. Like, I didn't know what kind, but I wanted to, you know, be in a suit, going like maybe sales, like meeting people, making money. Like, I was super business oriented. Like, that was my vision. And then, like, the first year of college, I failed my first econ class. I was like, this is super uninteresting. I don't care about that kind of thing. Recognized my love for writing and changed my major to literature with a focus in writing.
And what was that like? You know, when did you know that moment where, oh no, like this major isn't for me and stuff like that?
It was in class. It was in class, and you know, I love to learn. So sitting there and just learning all these formulas, and you know, college is where we learn not just facts, but how to think critically. So that's when I realized, like, sitting in class and recognizing, you know, like, what they're telling us is, you know, you got to be this type of way to be in business. This is the way business runs. And I didn't relate to that. So that's when I thought, you know, I had to explore who I am.
So in college, you know, some people, they end up going to class and then going straight home. Did you get a chance to participate in activities on campus?
Yeah, definitely. I was all in the clubs during college. I was in meditation club, which I still, you know, I'm so glad that I took that risk and just tried something different, because I'm still, you know, very big on meditation. It's done a lot for my well-being. I was also part of Mania magazine, which was an arts and culture magazine. That got me, you know, deep into poetry. I was writing music and art reviews, exploring the local culture, going to museums, just really digging into arts of all kind and supporting local student art. So that really pushed me forward in my own path as a poet. What else did I do? I was in, you know, like cancer research team. I was part of a global brigades for public health, so I traveled to Honduras for a week to help, you know, build latrines and stuff. And when you think about that kind of thing, it's more for the students, and, you know, we're not builders, you know.
What was that like?
It was cool. It was really cool. Like, we prepared months, we fundraised, we got donations, we trained in biology, because we were also going to teach a biology lesson to kids in Honduras. So it was a really great experience, and I've been studying Spanish for a long time, so it was nice to go there and work on that too.
I always love when my guest ends up saying that, you know, they have a chance to travel when they were in school and stuff, because then I right away say, food stories!
Yeah. Well, I also studied abroad in Barcelona and Korea, and I'll tell you a food story. Like, luckily I didn't get, you know, the shits, but then my cousin, who I went to Korea with, she had some street food, and there's a whole thing about not eating street food anywhere you go, right? But our mission is to eat as much street food as we can without getting sick. And I did fine, but my cousin, oh man, it hit her like 3 times. So it was like, are you familiar with Korean food at all?
No.
So there's this thing called sundae, which there's also a Spanish dish that's similar, but it's pretty much like the skin of the intestines with rice, like brown, like black rice, flavored rice inside. So we got that off the street, and it's kind of hard to look at it, like seeing if it's good or not, if it's prepared well or fresh. So she got super sick, and then, you know, all that good stuff.
So what was it like, you know, the different environments and traveling and stuff?
It was great. It was great. I like the feeling of, you know, being let go in a foreign country. I mean, in both those countries, I knew the language a little bit, but it was nice to kind of get out of the zone. So in Korea, it was nice to get back to my heritage. You know, I hit up some museums, and it was cool to see that part of me. You know, like I came from a like an environment growing up where it was a lot of Asians, but you're still Asian American. You don't really connect with that side of yourself. So when I was in Korea, I was able to see like similarities with my personality and other Koreans, and kind of see, you know, what a Korean was without being influenced by America, someone who didn't grow up in America. So that was really interesting. And it was also, you know, made me appreciate all the privileges we have in America. You know, as a woman, you know, Korea is still a little backwards on that. You know, there's still, it's very male-oriented, you know. And in Barcelona, that was great. You know, it's definitely a tourist destination. I met people from all over the world. When I was there, I even took a 2-week trip around Europe, and that was cool. You know, got lost in some places where I didn't speak the language. So it was great. You know, it forces, I read a quote somewhere, I can't remember what it was, but it forces someone to truly be who they are, especially if you're traveling alone. You know, even walking the streets alone, and you create your plan for the day, for that week. You realize who you are, you know what you care about. So that was great, I loved it.
Cool. And what happened afterwards on the traveling abroad?
It was cool, it was cool. So the job that I had previous to the job I have now, you know, I've worked in areas with a lot of Spanish speakers, so I've kept trying to practice Spanish. You know, I still have books in Spanish that I read once in a while, and I'm also trying to read Korean, and so I'm trying to stay trilingual. You know, it's hard when, you know, everyone speaks English here, but yeah, it's definitely, you know, you don't want that experience to go to waste, you know, so I try to practice.
Nice, nice. Thank you everyone for tuning in and pressing their screens. I see the little flying heart icons.
Yeah.
Obviously, I guess they want to hear also, you know, tell us about the importance of being bilingual.
Sure, yeah. It's cool. Like, you know, language is, if you learn another language, it's like learning a different way of thinking. You know, every culture has what's important to them. And, like, for example, in Korean, there's a word called han. And that's one of those very political words. It speaks about the pain of Korean history, but it's the pain that fuels our motivation and determination to succeed, which then, you know, you can create into something like, you know, how successful Asian immigrants are, some of them. So that word Han kind of shows a multifaceted dimension to Koreans. And then in like knowing Spanish, like it's such a big part of America, you know, especially SoCal. So that helps me connect better with my locale, you know, even though I'm not, you know, Chicana or like Latina or anything. I'm full Korean, but I definitely relate to my environment where I grew up, you know, so that helps me connect with people that I meet here.
And so once you found your major, you right away, was that the only time you changed your major?
No, I actually added a major in political science. And I love political science because, you know, I took a class, like those electives, to learn about the government so I could take care of myself and know my rights. And then they told us about all this, you know, BS going on, like in government, and how it's created. And I was like, oh hell no, like I have to learn everything about this. And I just appreciated that, you know, learning politics or political science wasn't about learning the rules. It was about learning the system and how the system's meant to fail in a lot of ways, and how, you know, how politicians can be celebrities in a way, and how it's kind of twisted and corrupt, and how, you know, the people have a huge part in it. And if we don't know about all that, then we're screwed, basically. We're just, you know, inanimate in a way.
Tell us about the importance of having mentors and the mentors you had.
Very important, very important. I mean, you know, like I mentioned, I love to learn, and I'm always seeking ways to learn. But if you don't have someone there who kind of checks in with you and reminds you of, you know, what's important or what they notice, then you're always going to be stuck in your own head, you know. And I'm totally guilty of that, like being stuck in my own head as a writer, as a poet. So my mentors were the people that I've worked for. My first boss, besides my family and our family businesses, was Martha Hart, and she is also a writer. She's written a couple books on opera. And she was my boss in the admissions office at UC San Diego. And, you know, she was just a strong woman. You know, she would speak up when, you know, in meetings when someone would make a racist comment or something like that. If she noticed that I cared about something, she would give me more opportunities to work on that. If I needed to improve, you know, she gave me that feedback. Like, she was just always on top of my improvement. And that showed me what a good boss was, you know. After that, I really opened up to the idea of having my bosses, you know, help me grow. So moving forward, I always try to connect with my direct supervisors, and they've helped me to, you know, seek what I want to do and just voice my passion so I can do that.
I always ask my guests, where did you see yourself after retirement?
Oh man, okay, so I've been thinking a lot about where I want to go. You know, I'm 29. I feel like I thought I was 23 for like 5 years, but here I am. So I've been thinking a lot about where I want to go. I envision like these like green, like Great Plains, and I'm in like this minimalist home, you know, with the wind blowing, and I'm like writing my next novel. That's where I want to be.
And what would you like your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be like a cult classic, you know, like I've written a poetry book. It's called Bible, and I wanna push the status quo through my writing. And, you know, it doesn't have to be like New York Times bestseller, but I want a cult classic, you know. I want people who really have that, you know, I don't know if you can call it like anarchist, but like that independent mindset, you know, that kind of, you know, you don't need to conform to be happy, you know. A lot of people feel like they gotta do this thing. Like, I want my legacy to be, you know, something that shows that you can do whatever you want. You know, you can speak your truth and other people may relate. You know, you don't have to conform to what everyone else is doing.
So going back to when you were writing for a magazine, like, how did all that start? Did a friend tell you, hey, I think you should like write for a magazine and stuff? How did that go about?
I think I just saw the magazine, and I love the name. So Mania Magazine, like manic, you know. I like that idea, and I remember the cover being like a Medusa type of illustration. This is really cool. It was really abstract, you know, and I love abstract art and concepts. So it intrigued me. So I just went to a meeting and then just got involved right away, you know, doing like staff writing, and then I ended up being the layout editor, so I learned how to do layout. It really just expanded everything. So I just knew right away that was the vision, the essence that I liked.
Cool. For those that aren't familiar with layout, what does layout mean?
So layout is a little bit of graphic design, creating how a magazine looks. I did print layout. It was a print magazine. So, you know, just using programs like InDesign and Illustrator to create the setup of the page, you know, text here, picture here, that kind of thing.
Cool. Tell us about Adobe programs.
Well, I'm really, like, I haven't touched it in a long time, but I used Adobe Creative Suite, Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign were the main ones that I used. And, you know, if someone is interested in design and the arts, or even just having a part-time gig, it's a great tool to learn, you know. Like, I've made flyers for just little, like, cash on the side. It's a nice way to kind of do your own like side gig if that's something you're interested in. Me, I don't really do too much right now because I'm trying to get away from the computer. It's really tedious, you know. But if anyone's interested in, I highly recommend learning a program like that.
So how did the open mics come about?
That was a monthly open mic event called Blabbermouth. at college at UC San Diego, and it was at this one bar that on campus that I like to go to, and at that point I was in my second poetry class, and I remember I read this one poem called Insomnia, and it was, I like that poem was kind of like fast paced and like kind of erratic, how I felt sometimes when I was under insomnia or being an insomniac. And then one of my classmates mentioned, hey, that sounds like spoken word, like you have that slam poetry flavor. I was like, oh, I never thought about that, but I can totally see myself doing it, in this moment. So a friend told me about Blabbermouth pretty shortly after, and I always had stage fright, I always knew, like, I didn't want to be the center of attention on the stage, but then I thought, well, it's an opportunity to try something new, to speak on my, speak on my shit, just put it bluntly. Am I allowed to cuss? Okay, all right. It feels more natural to do so.
And so, the open mics, is that how you, made friends? Like, tell me how you, got your name out there to start getting, booked here and there.
Yeah, so, let's see. How did that all come into fruition? I mean, after college, I took a little break from, seeking it out because basically it wasn't in my backyard. And then when I worked for maybe 2 years, not doing anything poetry, and I felt suffocated, I felt different, not even myself anymore. So I thought, I need to break this open. I need to, focus on me again. So then I started looking on Instagram a lot about events, local open mic events, and lucky for me, that was when spoken word and poetry was kind of on the come up, back again, and so there were a lot of events going on. So I just started hitting them up. I started joining this one poetry club in Santa Ana called the Orange County Poetry Club, and that was a good community right there. They actually publish their poets. But I've mentioned to you, Rob, before, but it's a really great club. If you're in the Santa Ana area, they meet, I believe it's Tuesday nights now at the Gypsy Den, and the community is really cool. There's a lot of newbies as well as a lot of people who've been doing poetry for a while. It's a really great opportunity to focus on your poetry and grow as a writer if that's something someone's interested in. But besides that, I would hit up random open mics, and I would go to all parts, I remember I would go to some spots in LA and some friends might comment, oh, you go to that area? I used to work in the Huntington Park area, so I've gone to events in that area, but other people would comment hey, I would never expect to go there, it's not Long Beach or downtown or hip, but that's some of my favorite spots, the hole in the walls in LA outskirts, and even Art Walk, which is more mainstream. So I just hit up all those events, and that's how I met more people. I think one crucial relationship that helped me get more deep into the game, you can say, is I went to a lot of hip hop shows, and I met one friend at a Brother Ali show at the Roxy, I believe, and he wasn't making music at the time, but we became close friends. He started making music, kind of hip hop, metal, alternative hip hop. And I met some of his friends at other open mics, and then we kind of grew this community where there's, producers and rappers and poets and artists, photographers. So I'm going to an event this Saturday. A couple of them started a monthly event in Huntington Park called Sella Hip Hop, Sella, Southeast LA. And it's cracking. It's $5. There's poetry. This one is focused on a lot of female artists to celebrate International Women's Day. So if anyone wants to go there, it's pop in, $5, 420 friendly, super chill.
Cool.
Yeah.
So for those that are familiar with freestyle, can we do some freestyle?
You want to do a freestyle? Oh man. Okay. All right. Let's see. Could I? Okay. I have something that I've been playing with, so I can go off that. Okay. My mind is flowing like gravy, but dare I spill? The number's calling, so get up on your wheels, we're moving. I just want to pray that we keep grooving all this motherfucking ecstasy. We want to move it. See, not everything is drugs, not everything is happiness. We got to move on and get critical thinking. I just want to know, but don't ever stop blinking. You just got to keep moving. I don't know how to pray sometimes, but every day I try, and even when it brings you down, you just got to move forward with stride. A little bit.
And so, like, how do you get your inspiration?
I'm inspired by music, you know. I'm inspired by music. I think one of my favorite rappers is 2Mex from The Visionaries. He's been doing a lot of solo stuff these days. And, it's that character, the character and the lines, it's not always wordplay, but it's the way you can play with language. I guess that is wordplay, but maybe just not in the typical sense. Yeah, and I don't know, you can find inspiration from anything. Like, I love nature, I love hiking, I love the quirks in people, that inspires me a lot. Lingo, social media, things about status quo that I like and don't like, things that confuse me. I'm inspired by everything.
And do you have your work also like online so that people can find it?
Yeah, I do have some work on my website, and it's vivmoon.com, VIVMOON.com. I need to re-up that website, add some new stuff, but you can check me out there. I'm also on Instagram, where I have some short videos of my spoken word. It's Vibe What, VIBEWHAT. Vibe What.
And so, what other events do you have coming up so far? Do you post like your upcoming events on there on the site?
I used to. It's outdated. So the next one, I believe I'm going to do a poem at Sella this Saturday. I'm also going to hit up an open mic tonight. It's going to be in Rancho. I forget what it's called. It's a new spot. I haven't gone there before. I've actually been out of the open mic scene for a little bit. That's why I was really happy to do this interview, so I can kind of get back into it. So I haven't signed up for anything yet, but definitely check my Instagram. I will post events that I'll be speaking at.
So for someone who, I always say that, it's always a good idea to think that, you never know who could be listening. And chances are the person that's listening right now is someone that wants to follow in the footsteps of the guest that I have. They either want to pursue the same degree that they're in, or they want to do something that the guest currently does. So for someone that wants to follow in your footsteps, what tips do you have?
My tip is do something that scares you and excites you. So, the first time that I stepped onto the stage at Blabbermouth, and I was choking on my spit, I was super nervous. Every time before a show, I'm like, should I just not go? Just do it, if it's something that makes you happy at some point in your life, like just because it terrifies you at that moment of doing it, don't give up. Life happens all the time, and even when you get into something, life can try to pull you back. Don't give up, keep pushing, and do stuff that scares you. Do stuff that you would never even imagine doing just to do it, because you might find something about that activity that intrigues you, that inspires you, and that could keep you going.
I always like my guests to also, tell us, the stuff that's happened to them, like chronologically, like even like after like graduating with their degree, what happened leading up to where you are today.
Well, so the first couple jobs are, just to be real, like all the jobs that I've had after college have been typical jobs. And what happened with my first job is that I allowed myself to be consumed by making money, that I forgot my love for poetry. I let it go. I didn't forget it. I let it go, to the wayside. So it's taken a while to come back. You know, I come back here and there, but I still have that mindset. You know, we get stuck in having to pay the bills and make money and support your families. So my transition is just that, you know, you just gotta go back to what's important to you. And for me, I've been learning after graduating that it's not just about making money, but it's about living true to yourself and as fully as you can.
And then for those that, you know, they're still changing their mind a bunch of times, their major and all that, they can't make up their minds yet, what tips do you have for those people?
I am one of those people. My mind changes all the time. So I guess I'm conflicted between two. Like, you know, stick to one thing that you keep doing. You know, like for me, that would be spoken word. You know, no matter what other things I'll try, I'll always, you know, practice my spoken word. You know, if I'm taking a long drive, I'll do that. You know, I'll always have that somewhere in my life, even if it's not always performing live. You know, and then another tip is, you know, like I read this quote the other day, and it was saying, you know, once you realize what you love, make decisions that will get you closer to it. You know, that love, that passion helps guide you. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to tell you exactly what to do. So if you are intrigued by something that seems different from what you think you like, but you're intrigued by it, try it, you know, because your passion is actually what fuels that intrigue, what fuels everything else in your life. So if you have an inkling, but you think logically it might not work, fuck it, you know, just try it.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here on the Golden Spotlight.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, remember to tune in, and you can, if you missed it, if you tuned in late, you can go ahead and check out the episode on my blog, robfloydmedia.wordpress.com. Until next time.